What's up, everybody? Friday night hangout. And, we just had an Eagles open practice, so we got to jump on here and talk about it. I was a couple minutes late. I appreciate everybody holding me accountable. I don't know if I made the 2-minute warning, but close. Frank from Philly, appreciate you saying take my time. For those of you that are giving me a little bit of a free pass, it's been a busy day, but it's been fun. Shout out to John and Charles, obviously being on the Zoom call for the Hungry Dogs tier and higher. Had a good time there. Shout out to everybody else, too. I'll give as many shout outs as possible, but I'm Waker U, Jorge Santiago, IBH, Keisha, Low-Key, Andrew, what's up, Shake Man Genetics, Philly Duncan, Jamar, Chance, is it Afrado? Fanny, what's up? Let's see, CMV, Weedosaurus, Nabil, Nina Alston, Tracy Ann, Dante Cheney, Vinny Delatucci. I don't know if I said that correctly. Christina, John M., like I said, Vile Sinner, Jay Frasina, Mike Flanagan, Tyler Fire, Jackson S. What's up? How's everybody doing? By the way, we might have Anthony DiBona hop on. We're depending on timing and if he's available, everything else. So we might run it back from what last week was. Anthony was at the live practice. I know several of y'all were because I got comments. But takeaways from the open practice. The fact that we had 50,000 people there. The Cowboys do not have that many people. Understandably, yeah, they've got every single day of, or most days of practice. And fans can show up to those practices. But still, can't get the 50,000. Can't get the 50,000 for the Eagles, as we're Eagles are America's team, right? I know it has negative connotations when you talk about it for the Cowboys, but heck, the U.S. men's rowing team won a gold medal thanks to Jason Kelsey. If you didn't see that, that was the inspiration. So watched his post Super Bowl speech about underdogs and went and won gold, first time since 1960, I believe. So. Congrats to them. Go Birds. Speaking of Go Birds, I'm seeing that from several of y'all. In the other video, that's going to be the giveaway tonight. So we will do that at some point. Going to give away from, I think it was 2 videos ago, if I'm not mistaken. 2 videos ago, and one individual will have game tickets to any game of their choice. Congratulations to our military giveaway, Joe Cool. I got his email, so waiting to figure out which game he's actually going to pick, but got that one. And then tonight, we're going to give it away to someone else. Jamar, appreciate that, man. Just said congrats on the new show sponsor. That's right. I forgot about that, but that is, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know if it's hit me quite yet. It's like one of those that I think about sometimes, and then I'm like, oh, shoot, yeah, I forgot. But it is unbelievably blessed. I'll just say that. To have a official show sponsor for one. I mean, just any would be great, but then the fact that it's Underdog and they're like, hey, yeah, we want to be the official sponsor for the Philly Special Show. So if you have not played Underdog and you're doing the daily fantasy or wanting to do some fantasy drafts, we're going to certainly be doing those, but link in the description. Got that going on. Also, rocking the Cooper DeJohn shirt from Die Hard Addicts. So Philly Duncan, yeah, I can throw the... Let me see. Let me get the link. I can do that. Link for the giveaway. Yeah, I'll put the link up. I'm seeing several of y'all's comments. All right, I'm gonna put it in the description as well, so I don't have to keep throwing it up here. But I'll do link for the giveaway. I put it in the chat, but All right, link for the giveaway. It should be Battle Center. I appreciate that. Working hard. Saying happy you're just continuing to climb. It's unreal. Appreciate the support. Y'all know that. All right, got that in there. And also, Got the, let's see, the Die Hard Addicts link, I believe. One second. We'll get this thing in here. Should have come prepared, but, that's how the Friday's been. Busy, doing a lot of stuff. We'll get there. Okay. Finally got it. There we go. Now it's official. Sorry for the delay. Got it set up, though. If you want to get on the giveaway and you have not commented, so just making sure. I'm sure most of y'all have, but every once in a while, we make sure that you have gotten in on that. So link is now in the description. You might have to refresh. I don't know if it actually does it real time, but yeah, link is in the description for the giveaway. You just type in Go Birds and any tickets to any game for the regular season. And then also, I got the link for the Dijon shirts from Die Hard Addicts. So go use the code Philly Special, get 15% off. It's pretty sick. We haven't seen Cooper DeJean, obviously, because he's injured with the hamstring. But progressing well, I would assume. We haven't heard anything. No news is good news, I guess. Cheesesteak, yes, I realize the overhead light is shining. It blocks it every once in a while. So, the Eagles light does that. But Frank did that 2 days ago. Good. Mike Halo, I'm getting some Go Birds in this, but not as much. Let's see. I'm going to get to these comments, though. What do we do? What do we add to the comments for? Oh, Joel's just asking that. Yeah. Go Birds. Got that one. As far as practices, by the way, saw a couple comments of that. Walkthrough today, they had tomorrow will be a day off, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days straight of practices. We didn't see that last year. It's a new change. Vic Fangio pushing for as much practice as he can possibly get. Maybe understandably after the Eagles open practice. I mean, I'm all for the offense just dominating. Like, I'm all for the offense playing well. But it's like you take it with a grain of salt, and you're kind of like, yes, that's good, but then you're gonna, I guess you're gonna win on one side, obviously, and then you're gonna have, well, to what extent is it okay, right? Like, I don't know. The defense didn't look great. I'm not freaking out about it. I know that some people are making comments of going like, I don't know. There's some concern. I understand there is still a lot of time left. We got 3 preseason games. We got joint practices, still just more training camp practices in general. And I guess my thought on it is that Fangio even said in his opening presser that he's throwing everything in the kitchen sink basically at the players to just, hey, retain this material. Like, it's a lot. It's going to be some changes. It's going to be adjusting personnel. It's putting guys in spots that maybe they haven't been in before. And it's a, I don't know, drinking through a fire hose, basically. Like, as much as you can, try to retain this information. And then as you get closer to the season, you've already practiced it. You've got the reps in. You'll be better to go. So, again, as far as my personal take, I'm not freaking out about it. It's not good, but we're very early on. And, the offense, you could make the case, you could make the point that, well, they didn't need much time, apparently. They've been firing on all cylinders and very successful at this point. But, maybe the defense needs a little bit more time, or you are adjusting some of the guys. Not ready to sound the alarms. We'll just say that. If there's anybody out there that is, I would just encourage you to take a deep breath. We're going to be okay. We haven't even made it to a preseason game. Nate, what's up, man? I didn't see the comment earlier, but Jorge, appreciate the congrats on the sponsorship. David, appreciate that too. It's a great interview with Dean Blandino. That was pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I figured, what the heck, we'll reach out, see if we can get an interview, especially with the new kickoff rules, which are strange. I don't know of a better way to describe it. Just odd, a very unique look to it. I know we'd seen it in XFL, but so far it's be interesting to see how it plays out. I can't remember who it was in the comments section from the past video that was like, hey, well, what's going to happen when it basically dies off and teams just go, yeah, whatever, just take the ball at the 30. I don't know. If you kick it out of the back of the end zone, they get the ball at the 30. So the goal would be, I suppose, you kick it. But I don't know. I think there will be some teams. Oh, John, I love the new profile pic, by the way. I didn't see that until now, but got the neon sign in the pic there. That's doesn't get much better than that one. So I can appreciate that. But yes, as far as the kickoff itself, I think there's going to be some teams you see that have it. I mean, I don't know if you can say mastered because it's the brand new season, but I think some teams are going to be great plan from the very beginning, and you might see, oh man, hey, they have the ball at the 35 yard line, 30 to 35 yard line average most every time. And then there's probably going to be teams that don't have a great idea, and they, blocking's maybe not great, and you're at the 20. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, had to have Dean on, and shout out to him. Appreciate him for hopping on. My favorite part, and for those of you that saw the interview, my favorite part was getting him to talk about the Dez didn't catch it, because he didn't, but just asking, where his favorite, or I guess not favorite, but like what's the big moment that comes to mind, a big call that you made or your decision, knowing that people are going to be upset about it. And it was not rehearsed. I didn't give him a heads up or a warning or anything like that. And so I was curious where he would take it. And the fact that it was the Dez didn't catch it, then it's kind of great. Not gonna lie, I had a good time. Eagle One says, evening Josh and Eagle family. What's up? Cheesesteak, still can't believe Q is an Eagle. Sure. David M., the new kickoff rule is going to make gamblers have a hard time until they get used to it. There's some interesting facets of that for sure. Henry asking what the giveaway is. The giveaway is game tickets. 2 tickets, any regular season game of your choice. It is in the other video, which is posted in the description. Also, in the description is the Underdog link, Philly Special. Use that if you're looking to use Underdog. And we will have fantasy drafts, so I mentioned that too. But Jack says, I think we need I need to wear a Dallas Sucks shirt. Not excited for the new kickoff rules. It seems dumb to you. Okay. I could definitely wear that shirt, though. I can appreciate that. Jamar saying, not concerned. They still can't be 100% physical, so when the preseason starts, we will see a better defense. I agree. Again, they're not really tackling, so Weedosaurus, same thing. No real contact. Defense, 70% game speed. I can appreciate that. Lots of takes on the kickoff rules being funky. Steven, what's up? Says, excited to catch my first live stream. Let's go. Tony Zanny, go Birds. Get your little go Birds action. Reese's Buffs. Yeah, the thoughts on the poor attendance at Cowboys camp. I was talking about it just a second ago, but how great is it? I mean, the fact that they can't get very many people to show up, even on Military Appreciation Day. It doesn't matter what day it is. Like there's, and some people are coping or being like, oh well, it's not as bad as it looks or whatever. I can appreciate those that are keeping them accountable and posting pictures 1 year apart on the same day, and you see the stands, and one is like, wow, okay, that's really full, and the other one is this season, and there's hardly anybody there. It's like, sorry, photos tell a story. Not getting people hyped. You hear it in Zeke's voice. I included it in the last video, but yeah, you hear it in Zeke's voice for the interview. He's like, yeah, not much change except not as many people. They're just comical, really. At this point, it's just it makes me laugh. Chicho, why are we sleeping on Devin White? He a dog. I don't know that anybody is. Is anybody sleeping on Devin White? We haven't heard him much or heard about him. But again, as most people have said here, it's like the defense. We're not gonna get as much from the defense yet. I don't know of as many anyway. West Coast Philly, I appreciate that. Thank you. I will let you know. CMV, wonder who we'll see next Friday. Obviously no starters, but Q, what about the D-line? That's a fair question. I am curious to see, do we see Q for one, I guess, but then also do we see him at the outside or, do we see him in the slot? He's been getting first-team reps so far, but, Cooper DeJean's injury, try to get him on the field as much as possible. I don't know. I'm interested because as of right now, I mean, if you look at who the first-team reps are going to for the majority of it, there's a couple questions, but mostly it's understandable. I mean, D-line is, you had the four, it was Bryce Huff, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Josh Sweat. Then you had two linebackers, which this time it was Nakobe Dean actually getting the first-team reps. Very briefly, Zack Baun did rotate in fairly quickly. But Nakobe Dean and Devin White. And then your corners were Isaiah Rodgers and Darius Slay. And then the slot was Q. And obviously the safeties, C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship. So that was your starting 11. And then you had the rotations. Again, Zack Baun in for Nakobe. Kelee Ringo in for Isaiah Rodgers. But I don't know. I'm really interested to see because Slay's not going to play, as you said, starters. But I could see him getting in there. Not for too long. But let's see. Tony Bork, let's go, man. Congrats. Welcome to the Let's Run It tier. Oh, I see the comment. Hang on, let me get the comment also. It went away for a second. There we go. Heck yeah. It says truly enjoy your content. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that very much. Appreciate all the support from you guys, especially members, obviously. And, as part of the membership, you were entered into the game ticket giveaways, as long as you're a member when we're doing those, but do them during the regular season. So, like I've said, it'll be more than last year. And last year was 6 different games, 12 game tickets that we gave away. Going to give away one tonight, but that's just to any subscriber. So we're on our way to 75,000 subs. And y'all know, I moved the helmet. The helmet was in here earlier. Got the white helmet. The Eagles just need to go ahead and make it official, really. I mean, you look at Green Bay getting the whiteouts or at least the white helmets. A lot of teams going that route. It's just like, come on. It is... Everybody's too hype about it. It's not like they don't see it. Like, they can see the social media interactions. They can see people freaking out about the videos. They know everyone's hyped about Zay and with him getting the helmet. Should probably just... And maybe it's in the works. I know there's limits to the jerseys and the different outfits there, but we might should just go that route. Philly 500 pounds says, Josh, what's up, man? Haven't seen you since our Baylor days. Let's go. Okay. I don't know if it is you, I don't remember that you went by that name from back at the Baylor days, but what's up? KMJ says, evening, Josh. Congrats on the climb. Just know you got a fan for life. That means a lot. Like I said, y'all are the best. Y'all know that. Cloudy Productions. Thank you. Andrew said, give Q some reps outside during preseason just to get his feet wet. I'm with that. I'd get behind that. Like, yeah, we want him to be healthy, but at the same time, we've got depth. You want to get him in there, get some reps where we, I don't know, for the most part saw him being. I didn't see him playing the slot. I mean, realistically, when they drafted Q, how many of y'all were like, oh, that's the slot. That's the slot corner. I saw a few comments, so I'm not saying that nobody said that, but I feel like the vast majority was like, oh, he'll be on the outside. I was certainly of he'll be on the outside. And he still could. I know that. But as of right now, you look at the team, the roster, the makeup of the group, seems like he's headed for a at least first season playing in the slot. Steven, let's go, man. Appreciate the twos. Says, excited for the season. Really enjoy your content. Thanks, bro. Try to do as much as we can, obviously, as quality content, and it's been a lot. So appreciate the support, but gonna be probably taking tomorrow off, and then we'll get in a little bit of R&R that we can, because like I said, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are all practices. So we're gonna get updates and highlights and recaps, who's making moves. Take advantage of the pads coming on too. So, keep an eye out for those positional battles, specifically the O-line, D-line. I think you get more of an idea as the pads come on there. But recaps every single day. Then Wednesday, a day off, and what is it? Is it Thursday? Thursday's the first game, I believe. Or is that Friday? Let me look at the calendar. Just double check. Friday, I think. Thursday's a walkthrough? I think I've got that right. Let me double check. Someone already knows. I don't know why I always forget this, but yeah, it's Friday. There you go. We knew that. We knew it. Got the 5 here. The 5 bomb KMJ says, congrats on the climb. Just know you got a fan for life. There you go. Go Birds and bleed green. Also, hello, everyone. Seriously, I said a second ago, but it does mean a lot. I appreciate all of that support. Jeremiah said BG said he wanted to play. Let's see. Yeah, Chris, I'm too impatient. I want it to start tomorrow. I think everybody's right there. It's just go ahead and get this thing running. So Peak said, glad I'm hearing good things about Nolan. Yes. I mean, you want to get me talking about anything, just throw something out there about Nolan Smith. But right there with you, yes. Nolan Smith, and we were on here, like a week ago, and talking about Nolan and him winning some battles, but it's Fred Johnson. I understand that. Aneem Dankwa and other names that you're kind of like, well, it's a backup. It's not anybody who's necessarily earth-shattering, anything like that. But Nolan Smith beating Landon Dickerson. Heck, let me try to. I think I can do this. 1 second. Let me get it pulled up here. We might as well while we're referencing it, because we can. There you go. Yeah, while we're talking about Nolan, again, this is just one rep here, but he beat Lane Johnson, and that's more than saying, okay, no offense to Fred. Everybody knows that. Wearing the Landon Dickerson jersey, by the way, which was kind of cool. But, he totally freezes Lane. Like, you see Lane jump out to the outside. I don't know if Lane was expecting or thinking he's going to be taking the route outside because of where, I think that was Goddard, maybe, who had motioned out there. Or maybe that's Grant. I couldn't tell. Oh, that's Goddard, yeah. But, one step plant and inside move beats him off the get. The get off there, which I think everyone understood and knew that Nolan had. But I'm excited. Not trying to get carried away. I will say that. But that's my guy. And we are still working on an interview, understandably. I got some of y'all's questions of when is he going to be on. At some point, it will happen. We've been reassured not only by, just the fact that there has been some communication, but BG is like, oh, yeah. He's like, we'll get him. He's busy right now, and understandably within training camp and everything else. So, it might not even happen till the end of the season, because I don't know how much free time he's going to get between now and then. But it will happen. And I'm excited at that because we're hearing reports and you got to see it. So there you go. See, Daz saying fast as hell. Jalen Lewis, it was quick. Daryl saying, I hope Nolan can actually line up anywhere on the D-line. I don't know about, like, defensive tackle, but. Lux, Nolan, and Sydney think they have major potential. I do, too. I'm right there with you. They absolutely do. Fanny, that's a good question. Let me get to yours just a second here. I got the super chat here from Justin. So let me do that. Justin, appreciate the 5, dude. Says, excuse me. So far, who do you think has been winning the positional battles? That's a good question. As far as the ones that we mentioned and the bigger ones, I would say let's start. I guess let's just start at corner. The general consensus, I don't know if this is just everyone, but the general consensus is, or the vast majority, is that Isaiah Rodgers is winning the cornerback competition. He's made a few plays. Kelee Ringo is also there. Now, the question, I believe, was posed to Andrew DiCecco of who has the higher ceiling, is Kelee Ringo or Isaiah Rodgers, and he said Kelee Ringo. And I would agree with that, I think. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that one fully. I think age-wise, and you look at the longevity of the career they could still have, there's, like a 4-year difference. So that's probably where he's coming from in terms of what the ceiling is. But at the same time, like, you look at the speed, you look at the playmaking ability, the ball hawk. Zay is a number of times where it's like, oh, hey, someone's going to make a play, and you see that tweet of AJ maybe had a step, or it looked like he did, or Smitty maybe did, and then his speed is able to close up the difference and make a play. So I don't know, but based on what he's doing so far and what I've read, it seems like, now, sure, am I maybe a little bit biased because we got his helmet we're giving away? Yes, but if I'm saying even objectively what I've read and from the other reporters there, it sounds like Zay is winning the CB2 battle. So I would go with Zay for the corner. If we look at linebacker, I don't, it's not like it's just, crazy plays that Zack Baun is making, but I think it's just the lack of plays that Nakobe Dean is making. You saw it a number of times that Kenny Gainwell had his number and shook him for a couple different times, whether it was, I guess, passing or receiving or rushing. So not the best look. I think that Vic wanted to throw him in there to give him a look, but Zack Baun has clearly gotten more reps in those first teams. So from that side, I mean, Fangio continues to talk about him. I think that you won't see anything, and this is just my opinion, but I don't think you'll see anything in terms of a change unless it actually gets to like something in a preseason game. Because even if it's he had one good practice, one bad practice. Either way, I don't think that drastically changes it at this point, because it feels like Fangio has his mind made up of, okay, we're going to try to see if this works. If Zack Baun plays up to the level that we want him to, he's going to be the guy. Could be wrong. It feels that way. So for corner, for linebacker, right guard is interesting. Like Mekhi Becton, and I'll play the clip because you guys have probably seen it. But let's see, Mekhi Becton. Shout out to Anthony DiBona, by the way, for this really good footage. We appreciate that, Anthony, because not everyone, and appreciate all you guys, Jamar, Tequila, several others that I'm forgetting, but being tagged in videos. Appreciate that. But yeah, here's the rep of Mekhi Becton and Jalen Carter. Obviously, just real quick, the bread man beats a lot of people. Now, some people were making the comments going, well, they're not really going full speed. I don't know. JC's just very quick off the line and almost immediately beat Becton there. So either way, it's a loss. But it's also one-on-ones, and, how much of a difference is that making there? He could be better. I mean, you could make excuses for it, but also, like I said, it's Jalen Carter. So he beats a lot of people. That was not the only rep. by the way, too. I think most of y'all probably know that. But he got tossed aside on a couple occasions. So there's that to keep in mind. Let's see. There's also another one, if I can find it. He was going up against Moro Jomo, and it was also one-on-one rep, though. If it's still up here. It might not be. Don't know why I can't find it. To the point, though, that I was making about that, Anthony did say that he looked better in 11-on-11s versus one-on-one. So here it is. Found it. Yeah, here's the rep versus Moro Jomo. So you understand Jalen Carter's Jalen Carter. Moro Jomo, also, no offense, but, pretty solid rep. Able to push him back quite a bit. I mean, if you got an actual live game situation there, you're definitely making the quarterback move. He's eventually trying to get himself planted there. But, yeah, there's work to be done. I just don't know how bad the ankle injury is. I'm curious for Tyler Steen. It sounded like it might be, at least a couple more practices from the way that Sirianni mentioned. He still said it's not a long, super long duration. But Lane Johnson even said that he's, needing those reps, and understandably so. Like, you're trying to build the camaraderie, communication, being on the same page with the offensive line unit. So, I mean, Mekhi Becton's probably going to get a shot. It'll still come down to, and this is for most everyone, but I think it's going to come down to a lot of the preseason play and the joint practices. But if he shows out there, I think just, the best of ability is availability, and that might be the ultimate part that gives him the job. So he did make a very, very good block. If I can find, let's see if I can find that. Mekhi Becton did free up a really long run at one point. I might be able to find that. Let's see if I can. That's the problem. There's so many clips from practice, and I've got them all saved, but it's almost impossible going back through here. All right, I think I found it. We'll see. This might not be it. I believe this is the play, but Mekhi Becton, yeah, there you go. I think John McMullen said a hole the size of Mekhi Becton is how he phrased it. But, I mean, he's basically just sealing there, creating a gaping hole, and then Gainwell's off to the races. I can't tell. It looks like that's Zack Baun there. Or wait, this might be the third. That might be. It's hard to say. Could be Ben Van Sumeren, because I know they were going up against the second and third string on occasion as well. That looks like it might be Sweaty. I can't tell. Might be the first team. Whoever it is. Could be Baun. Still, it's a good block from Becton. So he made some plays. He did some stuff. But like we all know, it's just one practice. I think there's some promising things. There's some things that he needs to clean up, but he's got plenty of time with Stout. So, yeah, I mean, those would be probably my three. If you're Zay with a cornerback position, Zack Baun for linebacker, right guard, leaning towards Mekhi Becton, and it's the combination of the availability, like I said, and the potential that Stout sees in him. Let me get to these comments also. I appreciate, let's see, there was one from, where was that? Oh, Eagle One. The shirts are not up and running yet, but they're very close. I'm in contact with a vendor. We're working out how the online store setup is basically going to go, but we're very close. So hopefully In the near future. Fanny's question, though, was not hearing anything about Sweaty. Wonder why that is. He did get a sack, apparently. There was 1 sack. So, very little, but he's on the radar. Just not as much as maybe we've seen in the past. So, I don't know. That's an interesting point, though. Interesting question. I don't know why that is that we haven't heard as much. Maybe it's hard to know because in one-on-one drills, that's one thing. Yes, you could watch very closely. In team drills, maybe it's decent. It's just not good enough to really get noticed. Or it could be his uncomfortability of he's being asked to drop back in coverage some, and he's picking up a new system or kind of asked different responsibilities. So he's not able to perform at quite the same level. But we've certainly heard a lot more about, guys like Nolan making plays. Obviously, Jalen Carter. JD even made some. You look at his hustle, making a couple stops on the run. Tracy, saying Becton's new to playing guard. I would guess we'd need to see what Tyler Steen looks like when Jalen Carter's trying to push him around to know if it's concerning or not. That's true. And Tyler Steen's been, literally knocked to the ground multiple times. There's been multiple reports of Tyler Steen getting beat by Jalen Carter that way. So, we haven't seen it. And that's one that you see it done, and then you're like, oh, gosh, hey, maybe that's alarming. You hear a report, and sometimes it's hard to put into context. They say it, but unfortunately they don't allow any filming at those practices, and so we can't know for sure how bad the rep was. We can try to get a glimpse or guess based off of how they're wording it, how they're phrasing it. But apparently, Steen's been knocked on his back, I think it's twice, even in the limited time from training camp, and maybe that's combined with OTAs. But yeah, it's something. Charles says, "What's up, family? What's up?" Jack saying this is going to be a long month. Yeah, we're getting there. Got a couple of practices, got the preseason game. There's a few camp battles, so that's worth keeping an eye on. No, I'm with you. Fanny's saying, oh, hey, we actually got Anthony joining here. So 1 second. Let me get him. He is available. So I think it's going to automatically jump him in here. So let me do that. But Anthony DiBona can give us even more because he was actually at practice. If it's going to accept it. Okay. He is in the green room. We've got the special guest of the night in the green room. Got to get these headphones on. Okay. Get that here. And then let's see if I can do this, if the system's going to cooperate with me. There we go. Think you're in here now. Can you hear me?
Hello.
There we go.
I can hear you. What's
All
up?
right. What is up? The kiddos are down. I take it.
Finally, yes. It was a little bit of a battle, but they finally fell asleep.
As everyone can relate with being right there. I'm right there with you. So good. Congratulations. That is winning the victory.
I thought after such a big day yesterday at the practice, they would be a little bit more tired and fall asleep a little bit easier. But for all the parents out there, they know how that doesn't always work out. So
it's amazing how that happens. Yes.
Yeah.
I can sympathize with you because we've got something similar. But it's happened now. So as everybody's saying now, DiBona in the house. Fanny's hey, what's up? Everybody's excited, obviously, because we were talking about some of the camp stuff. But I was having to live vicariously through you and others that were sharing, thankfully, because
I tried my best, but it was a little difficult with the kids running around, but I tried.
You took one for the team. I'll say that because I was like, all right, I don't know if we're going to get actual, footage of what's going on and analysis because unfortunately it's just the weird, it's the strange situation of like the if you have a media pass, you can't film, But if you're a fan, then you can film, or if you're in the stands. So it's just, I get they don't want like super close, but it was just kind of funny because you're like, okay, you're not getting it from others, but to get all those drives in the synopsis of what's going on, I mean, that's what everybody that can't attend practice was looking for. So there you go.
My only complaint was that those white jerseys the defense was wearing with those lime green numbers, it was kind of hard to figure out who was who at certain points. But I tried to get like that all 22 angle where you can kind of see everything for those first two 11 on 11 sessions between the starters. So after that, the kids weren't really having it. We had to kind of walk around a bit more, but at least I was able to get those two out there.
Yes, well, I like I say, I mean, that's the biggest benefit of getting the initial reps and like seeing the team there. But like you say, as everyone knows and sympathizes with kids, it's like, all right, they lasted for a while. But I can appreciate that. It's what you said. Their first was it their first Eagles game or like
their
event,
their first sporting event.
First sporting event.
Because my daughter just turned 4, my son just turned 2, so my daughter was kind of born right in the middle of COVID, and then when that was kind of over, my son was a little too young to bring him along to anything, so we've kind of waited, and this was finally our chance. So they had a good time though. It was fun. It was just the heat was obviously a little bit overwhelming at times, but
I saw people saying that.
yeah, we were able to get into like the club level somehow. I don't know how it happened, but we were able to get a little bit of air conditioning, and then not like a suite or anything, but I guess they kind of had it open because it ended up being like pretty packed. So I think at that point they were kind of just letting anybody in there. But one of the security guards was like, "Hey, you want some air conditioning?" I was like, "Yes, please." And there we go. We got in there. And
all right.
I got a pretty good angle, so I'll take it. But hopefully I didn't get anybody in trouble. I didn't give out any names or anything like that. So
well, I mean, you deserve it anyway. So with the covering of the Eagles and everything else there. So if people are not, make sure and go follow Anthony DiBona because he's got some
appreciate it.
Great content. If you're watching this back and you're not live, I'll have it link in the description. But for those that are with us right now, just go on over to Twitter, X. I still always call it Twitter, but at DiBona PFN. There you go. Hit the follow button. We got a couple. I'll just go ahead and say this because there's multiple comments on this now. Gators is asking, do we have pads on practice tomorrow? There's no practice tomorrow. They're off tomorrow, and they practice on Sunday. I don't know. Have you read anything if it's pads or not? I just assumed that it'd be pads on, but I don't know if I
haven't seen anything like official. They don't really put that out there, but some reporters get a hold of it and put it out there. But usually after a couple days off in a row, I think they're probably going to go padded practice, but we'll obviously find out whenever it happens. Because even a thing like that, sometimes depending on if it rains, all of a sudden now they're in the bubble and they're just on a walkthrough. So stuff is always kind of just flexible, and you kind of just take it day by day.
That's true. That's fair. Let's see. We got the other. Oh, there was actually just another similar of that question. I love whenever we get like 4 or 5 questions. I'm gonna get to you eventually, so just chill out with the questions and comments. Okay, so I've got it because we were texting about this, back and forth naturally. So you were there in person, and you can only get so much, even in these practices, regardless of if you're in person or watching it. But I think most everyone would agree you get a little bit better feel seeing them in person. The full speed, kind of being able to take from that. Were there, and also I will just say this too, for people that are watching this back, there's a link in the description for Anthony's recap, his article there. So I'll have that also. But for those that are with us live, would love to hear just the takeaways, your thoughts on the practice in general. I don't know, you can take it, I guess, wherever you want it, but we got some follow-up questions beyond that.
Yeah, so I feel like the main takeaway for anybody that was there was how impressive Jalen Hurts looked, but I feel like that wasn't too surprising given how all of the reporters have been talking about him through the first 5 practices of training camp. But I feel like what the most exciting part from my viewpoint was you could really tell that this is now Kellen Moore's offense, because I went through it on Twitter. I put out the first 2 11 on 11 sessions with the starters. You saw it with the backups as well, but just the difference in formations, the utilization of pre-snap motion and rotating guys in different spots. I feel like Devontae Smith was in a different alignment on almost every other play. So that's encouraging given how stagnant his usage and A.J. Brown's usage was in recent years. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this offense works, because it seems like Jalen Hurts already kind of has a good grasp of it. There was a play where he was under center and it kind of looked like Devin White kind of cheated on a blitz a little bit. And next thing you know, Jalen Hurts made an adjustment. They ran, it looked like the opposite way, and they caught a big gain in that scenario. So the fact that they've already talked about how losing Jason Kelsey, now Jalen Hurts and Cam Jurgens are going to kind of have a collaborative effort to kind of designate the blitz and make adjustments. It seems like they're off to a good start there. So just overall, I feel like the offense kind of stole the show. But once again, with the defense, they can't tackle. They're not really going full speed because they can't hit the quarterback. So it's kind of hard to judge in that regard. But just from the pure flow of the offense, it was clearly their night last night.
I love seeing it too again. And really what you say of like Kellen Moore in that motion percentage, because I think that was also the part of like, we hear we hear the practice reports, we see those, and it's like, oh, hey, there's a little bit of a difference, there's some nuances, but to actually see it for our own eyes, and thankfully, as people watching the stream here are seeing, this is Anthony DiBona's coverage from last night. We got the full drive and the breakdown of it, but I think that was the most immediate thing among several, but the most immediate thing for me was like, as you said, this is just completely different. There's very little. You can see some. There's very little Sirianni fingerprints on this offense. Like, it's Kellen Moore taking over. It's changing things, but also, I mean, I know it's crazy early, or it feels that way. But the difference that we saw from minicamp from Jalen Hurts to then going to training camp and how he's performed so far. Yes, you still need to see it in a game, and we need to see it full speed, live, defense tackling, all this other stuff. But I mean, he just seemed to be a lot more comfortable, and seeing him that way, I'm like, man, it excites me because this offense is totally different. And there's I don't know, we talk about like the lack of swagger on the defensive side, but not as much on the offense. It was just more so it was chaotic and what are you doing? There's not anything you can really hang your hat on. But there's kind of that swagger really even for the offense now after that. And that's one of the most exciting things for me, seeing that now, because there's so many different options and all the guys are buying in.
I feel like the next takeaway that I had was just how good Jalen Hurts looked as far as like a movement perspective, because when he kept the ball and ran, I felt like they ended up calling it back, I think, on the second 11-on-11 session with the starters. But I think if that was full contact, he probably would have ran it in for a touchdown. They blew the play dead at like the 5-yard line or something like that. But he cut up field, and it looked like Jalen Hurts back in 2021, 2022, when he was really taking the league by storm with his legs. Whereas last year, for most of the season, it seemed like he was dealing with some type of knee injury that they were kind of trying to keep under wraps, and he was trying to just get by. But he definitely looks like he's faster and making more decisive cuts, and he kind of broke a couple guys' ankles at last night's practice, and that's encouraging to see. And it is also encouraging because you saw his ability to climb up into the pocket on the pass to A.J. Brown. And I know some reporters had said, oh, he's maybe holding onto the ball a little bit too long, and that's going to come back to bite him when it's full speed and in a live game. But I feel like right now, considering that he said 95% of the offense was new and how he struggled in OTAs, I feel like for him to make this much progress in such a short amount of time is very encouraging.
Yeah, I would agree. And I was trying to get the clip up there, but it wasn't cooperating with me as you were talking for the Jalen run. But apologies for people that are trying to see that. We got close, so we'll work on that. But yeah, I thought the same thing, because it's like, okay, obviously Kelee Ringo is not going to take a shot in that situation, but Jalen is John M says, yeah, Hurts definitely looks better running. Shake Man Genetics with a thumbs up, but it's like, yeah, the injury that he had, there's the thought, or understandably, like, okay, that probably affected him, but it's different in so many levels of the offense, and there's also that trust factor that I think you're just seeing, which is again probably the most surprising part, is he's got the trust factor in such a short amount of time with the Kellen Moore offense. So I think the phrase is like the window dressing, right? Or like you see similar plays from different looks or different formations. You're giving the defense something that they have to account for, basically, with all the motion and players that are being put in different spots. Smitty being in the slot, Dallas Goedert, lots of motion. You got 2 tight end sets on one instance. You got an RPO, trips left, dump off to Smitty, which didn't really do much, but still, it's like, okay, there's crazy looking plays that we did not see or would not have seen as much, and at least thankfully it wasn't like 92% of the time in the gun, and we kind of knew what was going on. So I'm excited. I'm really, really hyped about the offense. Let's just say that. I mean, for all facets.
On that play that AJ Brown caught, like the 40-yard, might have been a touchdown if it was like allowed full contact, whatever. Like if he kept his footing a little better, but it was interesting because pre-snap, it was a 12 personnel, so two tight ends, and Grant Calcaterra was on one side, Dallas Goedert was on the other, and then AJ Brown was lined next to the Grant Calcaterra, and then they motioned Grant Calcaterra across the formation. So now AJ Brown was kind of isolated one-on-one with Darius Slay, and then you kind of saw how it kind of put Reed Blankenship in a bad position because he was like, do I follow Calcaterra? Do I just leave Darius Slay on an island? So he was kind of slow to react, and then next thing you know, they snap the ball. AJ Brown gives a little fake at the line, and he's gone. And that just shows you kind of like the pressure that pre-snap motion can put on. And you've shared the Kellen Moore video in the past where he kind of talks about how it just makes the defense think for that extra second or two, and that's all you need sometimes with the caliber of players that the Eagles have on the outside. So it was just encouraging. I'm sure this might have just been a little bit of a tease for the fans because they know that was such a big, I guess, criticism of the team. So maybe they were showing a little bit more. Yeah, but I just think either way, the fact that it's going to be used at a much higher clip than it was last season is going to be a drastic and much needed improvement for the offense.
True, because if we're at 50%, I mean, we're like third, second. I like Miami's.
I think it would have only been behind Miami and Los Angeles. Okay, besides them, I think they would have been third if that pace kept up. I don't know how realistic that is, but you never know.
Yeah, I also really it got me excited too. Not only the motion, but seeing Jalen at the line. And there were a few times that people are, I know, blow it out of proportion a little bit. Like, like, hey, Jalen Hurts being the Peyton Manning now. Like step up there, read something, make an adjustment. But still, there's a little bit of, all right, I like seeing him go up to the line and recognize something, whether it is within motion and the defense has a tell and he's like, okay, well, we need to go ahead and change something here, or it's just him recognizing it from working with Kellen Moore and him, continuing that progression of like, hey, there's options that you have at the line that maybe we didn't see as much audible or change the play and, take advantage of a defensive alignment. So again, with the motion being as high as it was, maybe we don't see 50%, but even if it ends up being, I mean, heck, it could be 20%. And it's still much more than it was, but
10.8% or whatever it was last year.
Then more than it was.
It'll be better.
It should be. I am excited about that. There's the counter argument, and like there's pessimists out there. Maybe you could call them realist if to some, but I don't know. You got to be pessimistic for others. With the defense, yeah, the defense didn't look great. I'm sure that Vic Fangio is going to take a look at that practice film and be like, okay, there's things that we could or should clean up in this situation here. But I mean, you were there. You saw it on multiple drives. Both first teams. Is it any concern? We have a lot of time still, but any concern, any reason with Fangio's defense? The lack that it's like, oh my gosh, hey, they're giving up all these scores. Dallas Goedert's unguardable, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned. I mean, like I said, they can't really go full speed, so they're not going all out as far as trying to sack Jalen Hurts. So they do have to dial it back a little bit. The one concern that kind of stood out to me was I didn't think Zack Baun or Nakobe Dean looked too great in coverage. I mean, Nakobe Dean got caught by Kenneth Gainwell after the catch on one play, and that wasn't a pleasant sight because it was basically like a basketball crossover. Nakobe Dean touched the earth, and it was Kenneth Gainwell kind of broke out for a run. But then Zack Baun, I don't remember really any big completions or him being targeted much, but he just didn't look too natural doing it. But once again, this is all pretty new to him because he was primarily just rushing the passer on the edge. So I think that's just something that they'll have to work on moving forward. But I would still be encouraged about the defense because they did add a lot of talent, and I feel like the cornerback situation is a lot better than it was. And nobody else has Devontae Smith and AJ Brown on their team that they have to worry about. So the fact that they're kind of able to work against these guys, and part of me thinks that in the past, where I know they have like a scout team that they do, but maybe the defense struggled against all these pre-snap motions and stuff because they just never really saw it in practice. And now that Kellen Moore is actually going to be utilizing it in practice, they should be more prepared from that with as far as like a communication standpoint, and then actually guarding it after the snap as well. So that's going to be something I'll be watching moving forward. But yeah, I don't think it's time to panic just yet. I think they still got quite a few weeks to go before the regular season, and I think to start the year they'll take their bumps and bruises, but it should be a step forward compared to last season.
Okay, good. So cooler heads prevail, and we'll take it with a grain of salt from what we what we saw on that side. I was saying kind of the same thing because you have the 3 preseason games, the joint practices. There's tons of time. You're gonna have reviews, and I was mentioning this earlier as we were talking about it, but Fangio even said he's like, we're gonna throw everything at them so that then as we get further along, and especially once we get into the season, then it's like, hey, we've seen this material. We can actually kind of have an idea, understand it, recall, things like that. So yeah, there's improve, get it more polished. But I mean, heck, we're only at the very beginning of August, so we got some more time to go. Did they? I'm curious. Did they get into any? I didn't see any videos. Any kick return at all? Were there any practice in the new?
Not that I remember. The only special teams work that I saw was just regular field goals, and then there was some punt returns where I think I tweeted about Britton Covey, Isaiah Rodgers had dropped his rep, John Ross, and Anaya Smith. But besides that, I don't remember. But like I said, I was only in my seat for maybe about half the practice, and then I was chasing the kids around. So it might have happened after that, but from what I saw, I don't remember seeing any of that.
Okay. You've got an out. So again, you were busy, understandably. I didn't see any. I was trying to comb the desert, as they say, and try to find anything and everything about it, but I did not. But I was just curious because I'm like, well, I would love to know because they're getting those reps with punt return. But I'm very much intrigued by this. I think maybe most people are, but by the kick return, it's unusual, strange, weird how it was last night with Chicago and Houston.
It doesn't look right. I was literally, before I joined the show, like as I'm trying to get my daughter to fall asleep, I'm like watching a clip from Reddit where it was like a cut up of all the kickoff returns from last night's game. And I was just like, this does not look right. It just looks like some type of like Madden glitch where the players are lined up in the wrong spot. And it's just like, why are they over there? And it's like, you're used to seeing this stuff for like your entire life, and now everything's changed. I mean, you got Dean Blandino on talking about it, so that was cool, but he kind of said the same thing, how like drastic of a rule change it is, that like it's really nothing that we've seen before in the NFL. But yeah, it is going to be exciting because now the play actually matters, and it's not just an extension of the commercial break. So
yeah, it did look like they were almost frozen too. Like because I'm so used, and I know everyone is, but you're so used to see the ball kicked and go. So obviously they're in the wrong spot as you're looking at it. But then the ball's kicked, and you're like, we're just waiting until it's just so strange.
And then I think it was a guy in Houston. It might have been Chicago. I don't know. But like as soon as the ball was kicked, he just turned to go block, just like out of instinct. Because that's what they've been doing their whole life. And now like they called the penalty right away. But like I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that, especially in the preseason, because even Mike Tomlin was asked about the new rule, and he was like, well, I'm going to be playing a lot of Madden and seeing how it works in there to kind of get reps in. Because with only 3 preseason games, I mean, how many opportunities are you really going to have? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's why I feel like this season of all, because you'll start getting like all the data and the analytics, and teams will copycat and all this other stuff. But I think this first season, there's going to be, I really believe there's going to be some teams that are drastically different or drastically improved, or maybe like an outlier from other teams, because it's kind of a crapshoot. Like, all right, hey, let's try this. Let's see if it works. Maybe it does. You got one team who averages to take the ball at the 35-yard line every time. You got one team who's at the 17 because they can't do anything. So it'll be interesting. But I'm also curious who the Eagles decide to put back there for the kick return. So another battle to keep an eye on. But we'll know more.
My early guess would probably be like Isaiah Rodgers, Britton Covey, because that's another thing I want to talk about real quick is Britton Covey, because I was kind of harsh on him in previous episodes where I was talking about how he needs to show that he can be a receiver and not just a punt returner. And I feel like he's done all of that and more from all the reports of practice before last night. And then last night he was literally one of the first receivers in at that wide receiver 3 spot behind Paris Campbell. So, and his first snap with the first team, he gets a catch. So, I mean, if he can just continue to do that and make those plays and be kind of that speedy slot receiver that they can use in a variety of ways, I feel like that can go a long way in Kellen Moore's offense, and he might have a bigger role than we all anticipated, and definitely I anticipated, because like I said, we didn't see much of him as a receiver in the past, but he seems to be hitting his stride under Kellen Moore.
It is, and also with him, having the chemistry with Jalen, because he mentioned that obviously in his press conference. But I think I saw a few tweets of people saying like, he's going up to Jalen, having conversations during the practice. So not only with the first team reps, but getting that chemistry built up and everything there. I don't know. Trying to watch it through everyone else's eyes of being actually at practice, but I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm like, all right, well, he's in a better situation because he is getting first team reps in front of everyone here, and he's making a couple plays. So we'll see. That's obviously percentage changes for the official Anthony DiBona percentage picker for making the roster, but
yeah, I think he if I redid my 53-man roster projection, I think he'll be in there. And things are looking kind of shaky for Anaya Smith. I don't know.
That's what I was going to
what's
ask
going to
next.
happen
Is
there.
who does that? Who does that?
Because I kind of
change?
envisioned him being what Britton Covey is doing right now for the Eagles, where he's kind of that shifty slot where they can kind of bring him in and use him pre-snap motion a lot, and then he could also be a returner. But Anaya Smith, he got off to a rough start because he couldn't really practice, and now he's dropping punts, he's dropping passes. I mean, it's not looking good for him now. I mean, I don't know if they still hold on to him and then maybe cut a guy like John Ross, who they think they could just bring back on the practice squad because they don't want to risk Anaya Smith hitting waivers. So that's probably the safer bet. But maybe in preseason action, he'll actually show something, and then all of this will be kind of flushed down the toilet. But he's not off to the greatest start as far as the rookie receivers go.
Yeah, I think I saw John McMullen as well as a couple others posting that is another drop, and it's not good. But the way that it was even phrased, I think, was like the daily Anaya Smith drop. And like, if you got a beat reporter that's saying the daily Anaya Smith, that's not really the tagline that you're wanting to be associated with yourself by this point. So I don't know. It is surprising because we said this. I think the last time we were talking about it, I wouldn't have expected that Johnny Wilson would be above Anaya Smith at this point. If I was going to be, I mean, heck, we go back to like right around the draft. It's like, oh yeah, like Anaya Smith getting all these reps, maybe, who knows, wide receiver 3, lots of possibility there, but it's reversed. And Johnny Wilson, I mean, heck, he could legitimately be a part-time starter is what it looks like. I mean, he's getting first team reps, and especially within the red zone, his frame, like, he seems legit. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that was impressive to see him kind of get in there with the starters immediately. I know it's happened a little bit before, but he literally came in and they targeted him right away. And he almost came down with the catch. It went through his hands, but just the fact that they kind of are already establishing that connection where Jalen Hurts is kind of just, hey, just get him isolated on one side, just throw it up and see what happens, because you had that picture that you shared as well, and then where it's just him up there and then 3 or 4 guys just trying to hold on and jump with him. But Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni talked about how how rare of a physical specimen he is because of his size, his speed, and the versatility too, because he could play on the outside. They used him in the slot. He was with the second team in the slot where he kind of ran a curl route, actually created a lot of separation given his size, and caught the pass for a first down. So that was encouraging too. But it seems like Jalen Hurts is a big fan of him, and clearly Kellen Moore is too, to kind of give him those opportunities with the first team already. And if they are going to go with a rotation at that wide receiver 3 spot, it seems like Wilson will kind of play that Julio Jones role where he's that bigger body receiver that they can trust to block, but also can trust in the red zone to kind of just throw it up and for him to get it. So it's a lot of people are upset that they don't really have that set in stone wide receiver 3, and people want them to make a move there. But given the differences in all of their skill sets, it might actually work in the Eagles' favor to have this kind of rotation at that spot as well.
It's something that I didn't think that I would see, like I say. And I've got the picture up of Johnny Wilson in the middle of, all the peasants who cannot get up to that type of catch radius. It's insanity. Because again, this is a dude who's 6'6", and yeah, Fanny Eagles girls saying you got mossed. I mean, it's 6'6", 235, a better vertical than AJ Brown. Yeah, I mean, obviously you would throw it to him in those situations. I think for me, the most exciting part beyond all, because like, I mean, heck, I get amped up over these pictures and, seeing video clips and hearing about Johnny Wilson, just all the mismatch. But for me, I think even more than that is Jalen is, I guess I'll clarify it first. Jalen Hurts seems a little bit different. He seems like there's a lighter Jalen Hurts. Now, maybe this is just, hey, you flushed last season down the toilet, you're moving on, and you're ready to go. But he whatever it is, he seems lighter. He seems more excited. He seems confident, and he's not afraid to give some praise to some teammates. But he doesn't always do that still. So for him to go out of his way and like boost Johnny Wilson, I was like, okay. I mean, we already had some excitement of Johnny Wilson, but this is a guy obviously way back whenever we were recording before the draft. Even you're like, oh yeah, Johnny Wilson's gonna impress at the combine, And so I'm like, okay, let's see. So then we start watching closer, and now we fast forward all the way to the point that he's on the Eagles. Jalen said it. He's like, hey, I was talking to Johnny. Like, you put in the work, you put in the time, you show up. It shows itself in practice because you've got all those reps. I think that there's something there. Naturally, he was practicing with him or working out with him down in Florida for a bit before training camp. But I mean, how special is it the fact that Jalen is talking about Johnny Wilson? Because it's not just Nick Sirianni. No offense to Sirianni, but the fact that Jalen is the one doing that, and Johnny's, he's making some plays. He's had some maybe rookie moments, but he's making some plays.
One first point I want you brought up Sirianni, so I have to mention because he was asked about like that third wide receiver spot at a recent press conference, and he was like, "Well, I'm not going to name everybody," and then he literally went on to name every single wide receiver on the roster, and it was so funny.
That's why I had to
the
play
rambling,
the Anchorman clip. It's like the brick. Like, are you just pointing around and naming things that you love for it? Because I was thinking the same thing as I was watching it. I'm going, he's literally gotten 8. He said 8 names so far. I was like, when is he going to stop? And then he just keeps going and going. So, you take the praise.
He got to like the 7th or 8th guy, and he was like, "Oh, well, I might as well name them all at this point." It's just like that's just like that rambling Italian. Trust me, I know that very well. Growing up in Brooklyn, so it felt like I was just watching a family member of mine. But in regards to Jalen Hurts kind of talking about Johnny Wilson, I feel like that's really important because, like you said, he doesn't really do that. Even when he was asked about A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith in the past, he'll talk about them a little bit, but he doesn't really go out of his way to kind of like praise them and kind of like shower them with praise, because he kind of usually wants to keep everything kind of even and like cool, calm, and collected, not trying to give anybody too much credit, keep everybody motivated. But he kind of went out of his way to like praise Johnny Wilson, and that says a lot for a guy that's basically only been in Philadelphia for 3-4 months at this point. So the fact that he's already kind of made that impression on Jalen Hurts, and I've been high on Wilson for a while. Like you said, I talked about him before the combine, and then on another podcast, I said he was like one of my guys at wide receiver in this year's draft. So
he was.
The fact that he's kind of off to a good start, I'll take it. That'll be something I'll wear with honor if he does work out in Philadelphia. But there's still a whole lot of time to go before things actually matter. So we'll see.
Yes, obviously, yeah, lots of time. We do have it. That's the beauty of having it time stamped and recorded and everything else. So if anybody were to say like, "Oh no, you didn't call it," go back and look.
We'll forget about all the other wrong stuff that I said.
I mean,
Saquon Barkley 0.0%.
Saquon Barkley's never going to be an Eagle.
Nope, all of that stuff doesn't matter. Only my Johnny Wilson hit will matter. So.
You can't get them all correct. So I mean, it's you're going to miss every once in a while. But that is still honestly one of the funniest to me, because I'm like, I wasn't believing either.
Why it's in my
but the
Twitter
fact
bio.
that it was it's 0.0%, which is of course why we have the regular Anthony DiBona prediction percentage that we ask on a number of different things for basically each show. It's kind of a requirement, I think, as of in your contract.
You got to get like a special intro for that part of each episode.
I need to make like a graphic beside it too. It's like, all right, and here it is.
Like me with like a thumbs up and like 0%.
Yeah, it's like, congratulations, you got the stamp of approval. But we got a couple questions here. I think I saw earlier, but as far as the tight end 2 position, because Goddard, then obviously no questions there, and it is encouraging to see 3 touchdowns last night, getting very involved. We saw him at times last season be non-existent. So I think a lot of people being understanding, like, hey, you'll probably get some more tight end production. We'll see where the ball gets spread around, things like that. But tight end 2, interesting. Can't battle. Questions on Grant Calcaterra, possibly for that situation. It looked like he made a few plays last night. Is he, I guess, improve any stock there? Did you see anything from? I know you were limited in parenting too, but from maybe what you got to see and analysis for Grant.
No, he was actually another player that actually stood out to me in a positive way, because I felt like he was right in there as tight end 2 with the first team, and he held his blocks really well. They used him in motion a little bit, and then with the second team, he had like 2 or 3 catches in their first go in 11-on-11. So he seemed good after the catch as well. He was moving pretty well and kind of showed his athleticism that he showed in college at times. But obviously with his concussion history, that's just the concern that they're going to have. But if he's healthy, it seems like he's kind of that front runner for the tight end too, where I thought CJ Uzama was going to kind of be the guy there, but he mixed in with the first team as well. But I don't think he stood out too much, or he's really separated himself from the pack. So right now, it seems like Calcaterra is going to kind of have that role solidified thus far.
Okay. I like that. And I saw, I think from, what was it? It was I think it was the play, or it was the AJ one we were talking about, where we had the 2 tight end set, but there was another one.
Yeah.
Gosh, what was there? There's another one. I'm drawing a blank now. There was a 2 tight end set. I think he might have come in motion too. I can't think of it. But yes,
those 2 tight end sets, he was usually the one that was moving quite a bit. So I guess that's something that Kellen Moore trusts him to do. So
yeah. So it'd be interesting. Obviously, health being a factor too for him at times. But so far for tight end 2, we also did get the question, which maybe not surprising because we were talking about it. But Tracy Ann says, so what's the percentage that Johnny Wilson is wide receiver 3? So
oh God,
another percentage.
Let's do. There's a 33.3% chance that he's the wide receiver 3. There's a 33.3% chance that Paris Campbell is the wide receiver 3. And there's a 33.3% chance that Britton Covey's the wide receiver 3.
That feels like
because honestly, I feel like they're going to be split up kind of similar to how it was last year. It's going to all depend on situation, down and distance, where they are out in the field, and red zone. I feel like Johnny Wilson's the obvious answer there, but they might get creative with like reverses or short passes in motion with Britton Covey, and then Paris Campbell is the guy that can kind of do a mix of both with his speed and run after the catch. And if John Ross makes the roster, obviously he has the speed that nobody else really does either. So we'll see if they keep that many receivers. But right now, I think it's just surprising that Johnny Wilson's even in the discussion to begin with. And I feel like that's a really positive sign given where he was drafted and how people kind of viewed him as, oh, he's going to be a tight end. He can't play wide receiver. And he's in there lining up outside and in the slot with the first team. So it's kind of crazy to see it happening this early, but he's taking advantage of it.
Yeah. He's not a tight end. Let's just make sure that that's clear. He is not a tight end. He will play wide receiver. And so far, so good. Talking about some players standing out, and we've said some things that maybe we're not full on board. I know that a lot of people are. It's a polarizing topic, but the running back 2 battle and position will be interesting, and seeing how the usage is there. It's just one practice, not full tackling, all the other stuff that we mentioned. But Kenny G looked pretty good. Made some people. You said it earlier with breaking Nakobe's ankles, figuratively breaking Nakobe Dean's ankles. Looked pretty solid, both in the receiving game and the rushing game. In the limited because they're not tackling. But thoughts on Kenny Game and Will Shipley? Goes hand in hand. But thoughts on those two, having seen them more in this offense. Does it change anything from previous thoughts of Will Shipley and I don't know how quickly he might be able to get into the rotation? Anything there?
I think both of them looked good yesterday, especially as receivers. I feel like they each had their moments, but a lot of people kind of want to write off Gainwell because they didn't like him for last season, or it feels like people just hate him for some reason. But he's going to be there and he's going to have a role. So people might not be happy about it, but I think him and Shipley will probably end up just kind of splitting time there. I don't know if there's going to be a set like Kenny Gainwell is always going to be in and Shipley's barely going to see the field. I feel like they're going to mix them both in here and there because they each have their own little skill sets and uses. But Saquon's going to obviously be the guy at RB1, and then behind them, it's going to be a mix of Gainwell and Shipley. It might vary from week to week, but I think they both played well to this point, and I don't think either one has kind of taken a significant leap ahead of the other. So right now they're kind of neck and neck moving forward.
And we should at least note that I think Kenny G had the best photo, at least the Eagles official photos taken of him from the camp practice. So for what that's worth, I don't know. It's kind of within the look good, feel good, or the look good, play good. It's not the number situation. But
definitely not the number. That might be what's holding him back. Honestly.
Okay,
this is that number choice.
They just change the number, but still, it is at least on the radar. Justin, appreciate the 5, says if Grant, going back to Calcaterra, says if Grant has a good season, does that eliminate the possibility of the Eagles drafting a tight end next draft in your mind?
No, absolutely not. I feel like that's still a huge need because just even if he does stay healthy this year, Dallas Goedert's bound to go down and he's only getting older. And then Grant Calcaterra is not the youngest guy either, even though he's a couple years into the league. He was a relatively older rookie. So I don't think you really have that long-term cemented TE1 like moving forward 2-3 years from now. I know Goddard can still play, but seems like he misses like 4 to 6 games almost every year. So I don't think they need to draft one in the first round, second round, but that third, fourth round, they're probably going to be looking for a tight end because they have to address it at some point. Or if they get somebody in free agency, maybe that kind of shakes loose. That's coming off a rookie contract that's relatively young and intriguing with upside, but they're going to have to make an addition there because the clock's. I mean, Dallas Goedert's. I'm making it sound like he's like 37 years old, but just because of the injury factor and things like that, I feel like you kind of have to look forward. And I feel like Howie Roseman does a good job of kind of looking 2-3 years ahead. And I feel like they need to make a move at tight end in 2025.
I was going to say, you're going to make us sound ancient if you're going that route. I mean, let's remember he's 29, so soon. I know professional sports athletes are different than just like your normal
it's just
everyday person.
The injury history, missing so many
yes,
games makes
yes,
him feel so much older in my eyes. Maybe
it really does. No, but you know, it's the Ertz and Goddard when he was selected and all that. So I'm right there with you. It's like, yeah, you do need to get someone there in terms of depth. But it's a reminder every time that I see a player and I go like, oh yeah, like no, he's fine, right? Like he should be good. And then you see the age, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm older than that player. That's like it's wild. So, like significantly older than that player. So, it is what it is. You know, life flies. We did actually. I forgot this comment. Fanny said, Gainwell can't carry my groceries. There's there's some of that.
See?
Like,
See what
some
I mean?
people
don't like him.
It's understandable that some people don't. Jamar saying Gainwell looked really quick. Tony, the good point, contract year for Gainwell. He's going to run hard. Bob saying Gainwell looked awesome. Chris Scott's going with Paris Campbell will win the slot wide receiver job. Excuse me. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where that is. James with the 5, appreciate that, says, any idea on actually, let me see. I can try to find this out. I don't know if you know this either, but he says, any idea on when, where, and how to register and then bid on the open practice jerseys from last night for the Eagles Autism Foundation? Thanks, Josh.
Oh, I think it's usually like a couple weeks afterwards. I don't think it's like right after.
Okay, yeah, they don't have like a link, do they? A link yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm just checking to see, but I was gonna say they probably have to. I'd imagine they have to like get everything together, pictures.
Yeah.
Like it probably isn't overnight. I would imagine so.
Because then in recent years, there's been like different starting price points for each one too, obviously based on the player and whatnot. So.
Okay. Yeah. We'll keep you posted. If I see anything, James, I'll let you know. I don't know of anything. I'm just a quick search, so that's not, I know, like extensive digging, but yeah, we'll keep posted. It would seems to reason that it would be a couple days or week or whatever, but I actually don't know. So if you just could choose anything out of just brings up an interesting topic. If you could choose anything from practice there, like take your pick, like signed jersey from individual. It might be an easy one, but just out of curiosity, you go with a particular player.
Out of any player in last night's practice?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the obvious one's Jalen Hurts. But
I was figuring you might say that, but I'm just
Let's get a little wild. Let's go. We'll go Jalyx Hunt.
Ooh,
just because
okay.
they showed his face. They did like, for anybody that was there, they know that like as players were taking the field, just like slowly walking onto the field, Dave Spadaro was like, "Oh, number 55, Brandon Graham." Crowd went crazy, like for obviously all the players you would think, but for Jalyx Hunt, he was walking out there with Josh Sweat, and you could see as soon as he came out the tunnel, he was just like looking at all the people because he came from such a small school that like he's probably like, "This is for practice." I can only imagine like when it's a full stadium. So that was kind of cool. I feel like he even talked about it, like how like they didn't really have all the access to like nutritionists and like all these facilities that they have at like the NFL level. So all of this is kind of new to him. So I think his development's going to be really fun to watch. And it was just kind of cool to see that moment where he was kind of like almost a little in shock because he was like, he looked up, he saw his face on the big screen, and then he like kind of just looked down. You could tell it was like kind of setting in. So that was kind of cool to watch.
Oh yeah, it's legit. I like that number actually too. Or if you were gonna take one, because potential that he brings, especially in this defense. But I pulled up
and it'll be significantly cheaper than Jalen Hurts' jersey.
That's true.
I'll go out there with 100% prediction on that one. It's going to be cheaper.
Much cheaper. That's
Hurts.
true. You might have a chance on that one. Not so much for Jalen.
Speaking of like just one more thing about the practice. I don't know if anybody in attendance was able to do the they have like the Eagles yard sale where all the proceeds go to like the Eagles Autism Foundation, but that's something they've done like for years now, and it's just really cool because it'll be like old player worn jerseys or like practice worn jerseys, and some of them are autographed, and they'll be like fully authentic game issue jerseys for like $30, or like the sneakers that they wear in like the walkathon and stuff like that for like
Yeah.
it'll be like airbrushed like Air Force Ones for like $20, $30. I'm like, it's just crazy the stuff that they have. I mean, like one of the weird things that I saw when I first walked in, and it was still there when I left, was Robert Quinn's jersey. So I thought that was pretty funny that like nobody touched it at all. And it was
just kind of like,
it was
yeah, I'll pass
hanging
on
out.
that one.
You're like, you don't want to talk about that guy. But it was just like, it's just a really cool thing. If anybody does get the chance to go in the future, that's when you go up those main steps in the front gate. It's like right there to your left. So that's always something cool. But the line was just absurd. I was trying to go through there with my nephews, and between that line and the heat, it was just not happening. But it's definitely something people should check out.
I don't blame you, especially with, like you say, the heat there. But no, it's maybe it's one of those situations where you're able to buy. I was searching if they had a name tag on that one, because you know how you do like the nameplate reverse. I didn't see it come up immediately, but because I did that with the AJ, or with the Carson and the AJ. So I'm just thinking like, save yourself some money. Yeah, you swap it, but I haven't seen.
Not a bad idea.
Not a quick chance there, but if someone does, if you get the nameplate for Carter, if someone actually has a way to do that,
whoever bought that Robert Quinn jersey, some luck.
Because you're just like, oh, perfect. I just immediately go to Jalen Carter. So, no, that is interesting though. I think and also seeing your tweets, it seems to reason, but it's like, okay, you were talking about BG coming out, the player introductions, everybody excited, and then all of a sudden you see. Or then you said Saquon, right? So then it's like Saquon a little bit more, and you're thinking like, okay, cool. And then Jalen comes out, and he's QB1.
Jalen Hurts. It was like if you watch like a UFC event, they have like the walkouts from like when they're way back in like the locker room and they're going through the whole back of like he had like a long introduction, and the crowd was just like building up, and then when he came out, they were like, some of them were chanting MVP. It was just like compared to everybody else, it kind of blew everybody else's out of the water, but. Britton Covey actually got kind of a surprising ovation and kind of waved back at the crowd. So
really,
that was cool.
Okay.
But I think like
lots of Utah
Darius Slay, Brandon Graham, Saquon Barkley, obviously AJ Brown, Devontae Smith came out together, and then Jalen Hurts kind of stole the show from everybody else. But those are probably the big five of the night as far as introductions went.
How about Nolan? Did he get an introduction there?
I don't think he did. Maybe because some of the players that they didn't catch like walking out, they like got him while they were stretching, and it was just like. By that point, the crowd already kind of like died down. They were just like zoned out. So I think they might have mentioned. I know they mentioned Jalen Carter, but Nolan Smith definitely stood out on the field. So that's what really matters.
That is absolutely what matters. I was mentioning that earlier, but it's only one rep. But he beat Lane.
Did
QB pressure on Lane? Well, actually, it was Landon Dickerson. So can't really prove that it was.
I got to pat myself on the back with that one because I think I tweeted that before all the reporters did, because like I think Dave Zangaro, he was like,
he got he was
but Landon Dickerson is practicing, and I was like, oh, never mind. They got like So that was
he was
something I noticed right away. They both came out in bucket hats initially, so that kind of threw everybody off. But it was pretty funny that they caught some people with that.
Yes, I did love the photo, like you're saying there, because whenever I saw that too, at first there's no way I would have been all right, cool, especially because some of the media people seeing it from far off, and then when the helmet comes on, then you're not sure at all. It's kind of well that even if it looks a little bit strange, you go, well, no, that's Dickerson's jersey, like that's got to be him. And so then whenever you tweeted that, there were some that saw it, and then others, like you say, Zangaro was not aware, but as soon as he tweeted, didn't take long. People were like, all right, it's they swapped it.
I've even seen people responding to like the video of Nolan Smith beating Lane Johnson, and people are like, no, he didn't beat Lane Johnson, that's Landon Dickerson. And they're like, no, that's Lane Johnson. He was wearing his jersey. When is Landon Dickerson lining up at right tackle?
No wonder he beat him. It's Landon Dickerson out there at the right tackle.
People don't want. I mean, I understand it's practice, but some of this stuff is you have to like. It matters because beating a guy like that, even if it's in practice, it's notable and it shows kind of what he's been working on and how far he's come in just a year. But I've said it before. I feel like by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith are kind of their top two edge rushers, and Josh Sweat gets kind of phased out a little bit. But Nolan Smith's off to a hot start so far, so we'll see how it goes because he's going to play in preseason for sure. He's not going to be a guy that they're going to hold out, so he's going to be able to make an impression there as well.
There you go. I'm obviously very excited about that. Pumped for the potential, as everyone knows. James, appreciate the 5 again. Says none of those items, talking about the Quinn and others, but none of those items are online, are they? If so, can you share the link? Okay, so.
No, it was just that's the only thing that sucks about it. It's only like then that day, and it seems like I saw a sign that was posted something about like fill up a bag for like $30. I don't know if that was including the jerseys and stuff, or if it was just like they had like little like small photos and bobbleheads and things like that. So I don't know if it was more for that stuff, and then the jerseys and the sneakers and stuff was separate. But either way, you just get like so many deals. I know E-Rock, he's a big like Eagles social media personality, but he always goes crazy with that stuff each year. He has like a collection of jerseys from over the years that's just absurd. I mean, when I first, because this is my first public practice in probably like I think like 6 or 7 years, and the first one that I went to back when I was just purely a fan, didn't really have to worry about being an analyst and stuff, but I bought a game worn signed Deshaun Jackson jersey for like $50,
Oh,
and I still have it.
come
It's like
on.
it's stitched, authentic, like it's pretty insane. But yeah, that just shows you like the kind of stuff that you can get. But it just sucks that they don't make it available like online. It's just like you have to be there, you have to wait in line, and the
Kinda
people.
just
It
get
was
lucky
it was
and
a
fortunate.
crazy crowd. It was like it was nuts. But I mean, you got some steals there.
Oh, I bet so. Yeah. And you were saying that there's like a fill your bag up for like $30 or something.
That's
Was
I
that
saw the sign on social media. I didn't see it when I was there, but it seems
Okay.
like there was some kind of because it's just like it's real chaotic, like a real crowded little space, and people are just kind of just going through boxes, pulling stuff out. The jerseys are all hung up, but besides that, everything else is in like bins, and you're kind of just like I
Oh
guess
my
trying to find
gosh.
your size or whatever. But
That's
yeah,
what
it
that's what
gets
I mean. I'm envisioning here. Like I've got my bag and I'm just like cramming as much as I
yeah,
can
yeah.
into it,
I think
and
they gave you like a
it's
little like
chaos.
clear
But
like pro shop bag, and like hey, yeah,
yeah,
just fill it up for $30 with like
that's
t-shirts or whatever. I don't
wild.
know. Yeah,
It's pretty cool though. Okay, not
yeah.
not online, unfortunately, not online
No.
there. Okay, the other question was, yeah, I actually didn't see a whole lot. I was trying to search for this too. So this is a good question. And I'll get to a couple others. Fanny was saying, how did Bradbury look yesterday? I didn't see or hear of much about JB based on reporters or, I mean, I don't know if no news is good news, but did anything noteworthy from
I mean,
JB?
I didn't see anything noteworthy. I didn't read anything noteworthy like afterwards from any of the reporters. So usually with a safety, that's kind of a better sign because if he did get beat in coverage or give up something, that's
True.
usually would be noted. So the fact that really nothing was said was I guess kind of a good thing for him. But once again, the way those jerseys look when you're on the deep in the stands, it's kind of hard for those defensive players because of those lime green jerseys, the nameplates. It gets a little tough to read. The offensive players definitely stood out more as far as numbers, but I don't remember James Bradbury sticking out for any bad reasons or making any like crazy impressive plays either. So I guess it's a kind of a win in his book.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I didn't see it. That makes sense though. You don't necessarily want your safety. I still don't know, even though I saw multiple people saying that he got booed when he got announced.
He,
So
de-
if
he,
we're talking
def-
about
he
intros,
definitely did get booed. That was kind of
that's
messed up, I think. But
I'm like, come on, man. Look, because I'll remain consistent. I don't think that he makes the roster, but
yeah,
even saying that, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are we doing that? Like, just let him get introduced. If you don't want to clap, don't clap, but don't boo him. I mean, come on. But
I mean,
it's gonna happen.
it was like a mixed reaction. I feel like some people were just clapping because they're just like, it's an Eagles player, I'm clapping, and then some
Sure.
people were like, I hate this guy. Blah. Like I don't know. It's just I gained a lot of respect for him after how he handled his press conference with kind of taking accountability for how poorly he played, and because you don't really see players doing that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think booing him was a little unnecessary. But hey, that's sports fans for you. It happens.
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, James is saying on Weapon X video he did a couple nice pass breakups. So okay, I didn't see that. Apparently, maybe that's out there. I need to check that out.
Yeah,
But,
like I said, I wasn't out there for the anything past like the first team 11 on 11. So I kind of was
okay,
walking
yeah.
around after that. So
You're
might
on
have
dad
missed
duty.
that.
It's understandable. You got
Yeah, maybe one day I'll get media credentials and I'll really be locked in. But well, that's we'll see what happens there.
it's gonna happen. I'll just say that. I think it'll for sure happen. But
Hopefully.
yes, okay. Question somebody's asking about the giveaway. We've not done it yet, but it's probably a good time to. So let me go ahead and get that pulled up. Eagles tickets to a game for some individual. It'd be nice if they're on this stream. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes, unfortunately. But
You should start making that a requirement.
yeah, I mean, we've done some of them that it is because I do need to, but I feel like for the bigger ones, I'm like, I need to, because not everybody, understandably, can get on at the same time. Heck, we can't even, it took us, 6 months, 8 months before we're like, hey, all right, works out schedule-wise, let's make this happen. So, but we can finally do this. So let me make sure and share the screen. And good luck to everybody. We got I think 1,400, something like that, entries. So whoever wins any Eagles regular season game of your choice, it'll be 2 tickets because, you don't want to go by yourself. So feel free to...
I'll take the other one.
There you go. Anthony is going to sign it up. So if you don't have anybody else, Anthony can. Kramer's already posting rigged. I haven't even spun it yet. But
oh my God,
getting those comments.
That's the guy that booed James Bradbury
this early. Now we're gonna hear back for sure. Okay, screen is shared. Good luck to everybody. Justin saying say my name. Well, we'll see. And here we go. Spinning it. Okay, 1,354 entries. It is Dream Team Kicks 7823. Congratulations, Dream Team Kicks 7823. There you go. You got 2 Eagles tickets to any regular season game of your choice. Just as always, hit me up on the email, thephillyspecialshow@gmail.com. I'll post this on the community page. I will share it. You'll have 1 week to claim the prize. If you don't, then we'll be back on here on the live stream, and everybody who hangs out regularly on the lives, you will have the opportunity to win it live. And I say that. I know that some people, maybe this is your first time, you're thinking there's no way that'll actually happen. Of all the things that I've given away, there's been 2 things that people did not claim. One was a jersey, and one was 2 Eagles tickets to any regular season game that I think Doug was his name, and he just never got back to me. So, maybe Doug sees this video now and is like, gosh, you got to be kidding me. I actually had a chance. So, but didn't claim it.
He's just checking his messages now.
He's like, shoot.
Poor Doug.
I should have had that. Andrew R., who's here, who said congrats, is the one who won them. So, Andrew can attest to that. He's got those tickets. But there you go. Dream Team Kicks 7823. Just shoot me an email. I need a screenshot too. Screenshot of your account to make sure it's actually you. I did have someone else on that note who tried to fake a win. They literally created an account, and it looked somewhat official, but I was like, it's a little bit off. I'm like, hey, why is that different? And never heard back from him. So I'm like, yep, okay,
got him.
So but there you go. We'll have more. Actually, a little tease. We're gonna have a giveaway at some point. So we're not gonna say what it is, but there will be something.
Maybe.
So
we'll see.
For those that just should keep an eye out, just make sure to follow Anthony if you're not already. DiBona at DiBona PFN on X, and those
follow
again,
you.
Like I said, well, I appreciate that. The link in the description too for all of Anthony's content and articles and everything else. I got to ask this because, you wrote it. So.
Oh no.
because there's a few comments that it just feels appropriate to bring it up since
People are talking about it tonight. Oh man.
Jalen Hurts top 100 ranking, where he falls. He's at 15. Dak Prescott's at 16. You wrote an article, a joint effort from is it Tony Catalina? Is that his?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I was drawing a blank on the last name. So you guys are both together. Great article, I will say. And I can understand the line of thinking. There's a part of me that says,
you don't mean it.
Heck no. It's ridiculous. And there's a part of me that just objectively trying my best to get into that world. I'm like, okay, all right, I can appreciate it because you are an NFL analyst, not an Eagles analyst, so we got to be unbiased here. But you just share with the folks thoughts on Jalen being 15, Dak being 16. Are the rankings right, wrong? Why would that be the case? Just a little bit more there.
So I personally think Dak Prescott, and I feel like by almost every statistical measure, outplayed Jalen Hurts last season. But the thing is, and I mentioned it in the article with that NFL 100 kind of ranking and the way they do the voting, is that they start taking the voting in like late November, and if anybody was taking a poll at that point, they probably had Jalen Hurts as one of their top 10, maybe even top 5 players because the Eagles were on the top of the league. Jalen Hurts was the front runner for MVP, and everybody knows what happened the following 6 weeks or so where they kind of fell off a cliff. Jalen Hurts only had a 5 passing touchdowns to 5 interception ratio, and his passer rating kind of fell off a cliff. The entire team just collapsed, and he was kind of at the front of that because he is the quarterback. So I kind of just wrote about how over those last 5 or 6 weeks, how much better Dak Prescott played compared to Jalen Hurts, and how that kind of factored in going down the stretch. And in totality for the season, his numbers were just way better than Jalen Hurts as far as passing goes as well. So obviously they both had disappointing postseason results where they both got knocked out early, but I just feel like last season, if you're talking about just last season as a whole, I thought Dak Prescott outplayed Jalen Hurts. But then I also mentioned how moving forward with the change at offense coordinator that I could definitely see Jalen Hurts leaping ahead of him again this year and being in the MVP race once again. Like, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But just based off last year, that's how I was feeling about Dak Prescott ahead of Jalen Hurts. But then tonight, if anybody's seen it, Patrick Mahomes was revealed as the number 4 player on that list. So now I feel like you kind of just take that whole list, ball it up, and just throw it in the garbage because that whole thing is a mess. Because there's no way you're telling me Tyreek Hill is the number 1 player on that list and Lamar Jackson's ahead of Patrick Mahomes. I mean, just that whole list is invalid now. So just go and check out PFN's Top 100 because we kind of know what we're talking about over there. So little plug real quick. But yeah, that list.
A little quick plug. Okay.
Terrible.
I can appreciate that. As you were, wrapping that up, I had to at least throw a graphic up of Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore from the practice photos because he will be different. There's a reason why he'll be, different within the rankings. But as far as the actual, top 100, I saw you tweet that, and I was like, you got to be kidding me!
So
what,
bad.
What is, and like you said, the timing of the votes, like you could kind of reason with that because there was a lull or there was a moment where even for Kansas City, you're kind of like, I don't know, like they're not they're kind of struggling, they're not hitting their stride. So if a lot of the voting occurred, then maybe people were doubting, but I still don't. I know it's a like, what have you done for me lately, league, but I mean for players, I can't envision. Actually just be, it's like, oh, okay, hey, like the Chiefs literally just won the Super Bowl. And then Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes playing with no one for receiver and Travis Kelce, yet he's ranked 4 somehow.
I just don't understand why they can't just do the voting like at the end of everything, like just send them an email or whatever, like use an app that just they do. Mm-hmm. But it seems like Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce, they've talked about it on New Heights where like how that whole voting thing went in the locker room, how people like basically just voted for their teammates or they just didn't really care. They were just putting whoever. So, I mean, that list is always going to kind of be blown out of proportion, and being part of the media, we kind of have to react to it because everybody's talking about it. But in reality, it really means nothing. And this is kind of just something to talk about during the off season. But those rankings are always going to be fun to banter about, especially among fan bases as well.
It's, I guess I could see it because the fact that like it's like some preferential voting and everything else, and Jamar Chase, like there was the viral clip of him saying like, I'm not even gonna say his name, like I won't even say that guy, and so like
that was awesome though.
If it was great, but if it gets to that point too, then you're kind of like, okay, how many guys just hate Patrick Mahomes because like dude's always like he's winning, and so it's like he's not one, so who knows how much of that there is, but we'll see. There's a comment before because of Kramer. See, so the comment that you made. See, Anthony, I've been pushing for you to get on here hard, and you show no love. So the James Bradbury booing comment. He was not one of the booers, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. I appreciate your support, and I take everything back that I said about you. You're my favorite person ever.
Sounds like a legit apology.
Doesn't take much for me to flip like that.
Yeah, real quick. Appreciate it from Chris. Jack says go Birds, and some reactions to Doug and making his Eagle one. Did Joe Cool get his? He did. Joe Cool contacted me, so people wondering, Joe Cool did email back.
Everybody's keeping tabs.
I can appreciate keep it honest. Making sure that they get the tickets, but Joe Cool did. So I should say that, actually, I should just clarify. Joe Cool responded to me. He emailed, and I've got a verification that it is his YouTube account. I don't have verification yet that he was a current or former military member. So we'll wait and see. I'm not calling him a liar or anything. He did say he would get back to me, but it's not 100% tickets are his yet, because we're verifying that he's a military member. So we'll see. But that one is to him. And then for the other one here that we just did, that was Dream Team Kicks, 7823. So they got that one. Let's see. I think we covered most everything from or the big takeaways, guys, and everything else. Were there any topics, anything else that you had for just players that stood out, or storylines?
Well, I think
I guess
the
Mekhi
biggest.
Becton.
Yeah, I was gonna say the biggest, both literally and maybe figuratively, is Mekhi Becton, because I feel like that right guard spot is kind of still up in the air, especially now that Tyler Steen could reportedly be out for maybe the entire preseason. And so I think Jeff McClain said around 3 weeks, I believe. So that's more than enough time for Mekhi Becton to kind of make an impression. And I saw, because I was kind of watching a little bit before I jumped on, where you brought up that block that Mekhi Becton opened up a huge hole. And I know I tweeted out the one-on-one session that they had where he kind of got beat by Jalen Carter and then beat by Moro Ajomo, and they weren't really going full speed, so you just kind of take that with a grain of salt. But in the 11-on-11 work, I feel like he didn't stand out in any bad way, so that's obviously a good sign considering this is a new position for him. And he obviously made an impression on a couple of run plays as well, with how he was getting to the second level at some point. And given his size, I mean, that's kind of be scary for defenders that are like a linebacker or a safety. You're climbing down, and you have this mammoth running down at you that's like 6'7", 6'8", 370 or whatever he is. I feel like I'm just making him taller and heavier every time I talk.
Oh no, I think it was I'm good with that one.
he's just like I couldn't imagine like just seeing him on the second or even third level just running down the field. I mean, I would not want to get in his way, but I just feel like you kind of look at Cam Jurgens, he's undersized. I know Jason Kelce was undersized, but now you have kind of the opportunity to surround Cam Jurgens with a bunch of guys that are all 6'6", 330 plus, and I feel like the possibilities are endless, because they all are still, even though they're that size, they're all really athletic as well. So I feel like Mekhi Becton is going to, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up winning the job. I feel like some writers aren't there yet. I know Jimmy Kempski kind of still thinks that Tyler Steen is going to have enough time to kind of win that job back, but as the weeks go on and Tyler Steen misses more time, on top of him not looking too great at right guard in his one game that he played it last season, I feel like he kind of needed to be there and be playing to kind of show that he can do it. So the fact that he's missing time is kind of putting him behind Mekhi Becton right now, and I think he's showing a lot of promise there.
And again, like Lane is needing and wanting that consistency and build a rapport, make sure that you're comfortable and everything else. And like you're saying with Tyler Steen, if he's not able to get back like basically till the end of preseason, then I don't know. I mean, there's certainly opportunities for Mekhi Becton. The question, I guess, is like, okay, does he live up to those expectations? Can he play at that level? But I mean, what Brian Baldinger said, that he's the best run blocker on the team. We saw a couple glimpses and highlights of like, okay, when he gets moving, he can definitely move the pile. He can get some people and clear some lanes for running backs. So you got to love that. It's just pass protection. Is he going to be okay? Communication, It's a new role. So there's lots of parts to it. But I mean, I'm kind of right there with you too, because I feel like at the moment, if I were to pick one, I'm leaning towards Mekhi Becton. I don't know if we were giving percentages wise on it. It's close. It's not a runaway, but I maybe 60%, 65% Mekhi Becton.
That's probably what I would go with, 60-40, right. Because I feel like, because honestly, you just can't win a job from the couch. Like if Tyler Steen's not out there, he can't win the job. I don't think if he misses the entire preseason, and even if Mekhi Becton only plays 1 or 2 games and they maybe rest in the third game or whatever they do, like that's not going to be good for Tyler Steen, because he's not going to be able to just not play at all and then be the starter week 1. He has to show something, and I mean the clock is ticking, because there's only 4 weeks or whatever it is until the first game, so it's going to get here before we know it. Yeah,
and as we said too, I mean, you got a ridiculously large O-line as it is, but if you have a 6'8", 6'9", 400-pound right guard, if you just say, you just slowly
7'1",
It's kind of the same thing with Johnny Wilson is what it felt like is, it's like during the draft, you just kept it about normal. And then once he got drafted to the Eagles, then it was like, 6'6", 6'7". I don't think I ever heard of 6'8".
They get bigger. Their 40-yard dashes get lower.
Yes,
it's like
yes.
6'8", 260, ran a 4.23, 45-inch vertical.
Oh, why not? You might as well. It's like the created player, He's just he's
max all the stats out.
Yes. Oh, you gotta love it. But no, I mean, he's gonna get the reps, and we've seen. I know the whole like Wally pipped in situation. This is not the same similarity because we're not calling Tyler Steen like, oh yeah, he's just losing it from that perspective. It's a legit battle that we were expecting, but it was more so like, okay, Steen's job to lose. Assuming he was healthy, I don't think that there would be a shock or surprise to anyone if it was like, oh yeah, Tyler Steen for sure is the right guard. Like if he won it out is what I'm saying. But now because he's injured, if Becton's playing fairly well, even if it's not great, like if it's like, hey, he's pretty good by the time, depending on it, if it takes up until the regular season, it's almost like you just don't want to mess with it. Even if it's kind of like, yeah, we're barely better than average. But if it's that point, do you say, yeah, maybe we can switch things out, or you just stick with it and say, sorry, we're gonna, unless it gets terrible, unless it just completely falls off, it's Becton's starting job. So.
I feel like if he goes out in preseason and just like doesn't really give up any like gross blocks or sacks or like misses blocks, I feel like they're just going to hand him the job just for, like you said, the sake of continuity, because that's so important. Because like I know my brother is a Giants fan, I bring him up quite a bit, but like that's one of his things that he gets frustrated with the Giants is that they're still rotating guys, and like one day this guy's the right tackle, the next day he's the right guard, and it's just like you don't want to deal with that. You kind of want to have these things set in stone by like that first preseason game, maybe the second game. So you can kind of have the group working together. But the weird thing with the Tyler Steen and Mekhi Becton situation is that there's like they haven't really been able to compete against each other just yet, because when they both were healthy, Landon Dickerson was out. So now Mekhi Becton had to play left guard. And then when Landon Dickerson finally returned, Tyler Steen got hurt. So now he's out and Mekhi Becton's just taking his spot. So now it's just like they're in a position battle, but they've never actually been able to battle against each other just yet. So that's what makes this whole thing weird.
Very true.
Hopefully Tyler Steen returns before maybe like the second preseason game or something like that. It doesn't seem likely, but it just seems like Mekhi Becton's just going to get it just for the sake of being healthy. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it is funny because I kept thinking to myself like, oh, maybe they'll just rotate it. They'll do the rotation of right guard, but it has. It's been like, well, throw them both in there, right guard, left guard, so you don't actually get to see it. John M. with the exact percentage chance for Mekhi Becton here says 65.238%. We're going to the thousandth, I believe. I'm not the greatest at math. I think it's what, tens, hundredths, thousandths.
Don't ask me.
I believe so.
Nope, 65. That's not my strong suit.
38%. Okay, I like the official part of that. Kramer is saying.
Screenshot it.
Probably should, yes, because whenever it happens, it's going to be like, all right, hey, you got that. Kramer's saying, Josh, did I show the helmet? No, I did not actually. It's in the other room. But yes, if we get to 75,000 subs, or when we get to 75,000 subs, giving away the Isaiah Rodgers signed white.
What's the current count right now?
We are at almost 68,500. So Ooh. Yeah, we're getting close.
You and Johnny Wilson are on that same trajectory.
Okay, I'll take that. Yeah. I did tweet and then tagged him in it. So here's the thing is, never heard from him, but I tagged him in it. And he got a lot of retweets, a lot of comments, and everything else. So I'm hoping he didn't have it muted from the first place. So at least maybe I'm on the radar. And then the goal would be like, all right, let's see if we can get Johnny Wilson to come on for an interview. So that's the...
You've got quite a few connections in the NovaCare complex right now. I think if you wanted Johnny Wilson, I think you could get it.
We'll see. I'm trying to... let's just, I may or may not have sent a couple DMs, but we have not heard back. So it would be
too busy trying to earn that job right now.
Yeah, that's fair. It's been basically the response from the people that have actually responded. He has not, but it's been a similar, understandable. It's like, hey, we're busy, tired. Isaiah, I was texting Isaiah and I was like, hey, just thoughts on getting on for a stream, and he's like, bro, I am tired. Like they're like working us like crazy. So you hear the reports of that, but to actually, get the player's perspective of it, it's like, okay, they're putting in the work. You know that. It feels like, and I don't know because I didn't go back and check to see or verify, but it felt like last night's practice was a lot longer than, maybe not a lot, but longer than last year's. Do you remember length of time for last year's at all or anything? I didn't see reports.
I don't remember. I was actually planning on going, but then my daughter had gotten sick, so we didn't go. But this year they actually announced it. Like Dave Spadaro said before they started, he was like, they're going to go through, I think it was like 10 periods in total, and that it was going to be an estimated like 2-hour long practice. And I feel like most of the time, I think the beat writers are usually saying that it's like, practice ended at like an hour and a half or maybe like 78 minutes or something like that. So like it seems like it was definitely longer, and I feel like part of that's because they kind of have to put on a spectacle for the crowd. And even at the beginning, Dave Spadaro said like, oh, this is the warm-up that they would do on like a game day. So maybe they were kind of just trying to simulate that as well. So to kind of like draw things out a little bit. But I don't know. I feel like they definitely put on a show, and I feel like fans got more than their money's worth considering tickets were only like $10. So it was definitely a fun event for sure.
Yeah. And the fact that it's for charity, Eagles Autism Foundation, that is pretty cool. You got to love that. Okay. We'll wrap up with one more, maybe one or two more questions if anybody's got anything left. Cheesesteak was saying 65.239, so one above. Unfortunately, John M is
Price is Right rules.
It's going to be very rough because it's close. 68.4 for Eagle One. Ezekiel said Johnny Wilson looked great yesterday. Yep, there you go.
Definitely did.
Kramer, we're going to do... Oh, I should try to get a fantasy football guru on the channel. Maybe we could see about doing that.
Hey, I won 2 of my fantasy leagues last year.
Did you?
You should get Josh Norris on.
That's
here.
what I was thinking. Yeah, maybe get Josh Norris. I'm
He's
sure he's free.
He's a guy that I really look up to as far as this like writing, content creation. That guy's unbelievable.
Oh yeah. He's got some really good stuff. I don't know if maybe there's more of a connection now because of the underdog, but I'm sure he's crazy busy. But we'll see. I'm not opposed to it. It's just I don't know. Flying High says Nolan Smith. I'm telling you, I love that. Kramer saying Nolan making plays, not just on backups. Yet we were mentioning that earlier. Ezekiel Nolan was on fire. I'm not really sure even how to pronounce that. So Becton is. I'm gonna expose myself.
Skip.
Becton is Vimithor. Mylata is Balerian. Do you know what that is?
Is that if that's like a Game of Thrones thing? That's not me. I don't know.
I don't even know it. I don't recognize it. I watched Game of Thrones, but I don't recognize it. I don't watch House of the Dragon though, so I really don't know.
All I watch is sports,
Should I
Paw
know
Patrol, Bluey, and like Disney movies.
For real, like I'm a lot more up to date on what 2-year-olds are watching these days than adults. Sorry, Anthony, bro. That's probably very relevant and like something that is very culture, but I have no.
It's probably the #1 show right now. We both don't know it.
Is it House of Dragon? May I really don't know. We don't watch House of Dragon, so if it is, I'm just throwing shows out there.
She makes up for my lack of watching shows.
Well, there you go. Somebody's got to, right? I mean, one of the spouses watch the shows, and then you just kind of get the fill in. It's like, what happened?
That's it.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions, any other comments here. So we pretty much touched on it. Is okay. So House of Dragons is what we're getting here now. See, yep. At least you were able to like give some sort of reference.
It just sounded like it. I don't know.
Dragons.
Targaryen, Bargarian, Dagarian. I don't know.
Whenever
fair. I hear it. It's all like a different language to me.
Yeah. See, John says House of Dragons good after you get through the first few episodes. Well, we started it, and the problem was my wife was pregnant at that point, and so for those of you who have watched House of Dragons, like how like incredibly graphic it is, like the first episode, let alone like the first 2 or 3. So we didn't. Needless to say, we didn't come back and watch that show. So I don't know. But the thing, yes, I know there's maybe a double standard. We watch all of Game of Thrones, and I know that's graphic. So I don't know. It's just it was the timing of all of it. So all right. I think we're getting so far off on a tangent. We did get one last question. Okay, I was just gonna try to end it with something. Something Eagles related. Let's see. Pac-Manny says Eli Ricks. Is he a lock or what? He made an interception. It was a Hail Mary attempt from Kenny Pickett yesterday. Thoughts, I guess. we'll keep it broad. Thoughts on Eli
Yeah.
Ricks, but also, is he a lock or where are we at with Ricks?
Not at all. If I had to put a percentage on that, it's in the 20% probably, because it's just like they're so deep at cornerback now, and we still haven't even seen Cooper DeJean get out there either. So that would only knock Eli Ricks down even further on the depth chart. So maybe they keep him around because they don't want to chance like losing him on waivers, because he did show a little potential last season, but it doesn't seem like he's really stood out too much this year so far. So I feel like that last cornerback spot or two, depending on how deep they go there, that's probably going to be decided in the preseason, because I don't know if the starters going to be playing too much out there. I think Quinyon Mitchell's going to be playing, but I don't know how much Darius Slay or Isaiah Rodgers you're going to see out there, if those are the guys that are kind of 1 and 2 right now. But we'll see who separates themselves in those games.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if do you feel like, because we were having this conversation earlier too, but do you feel like Q is going to get more reps in the or maybe they manage it both sides, but it's like he's a lot of first team slot, which is kind of somewhat surprising to me anyway. But preseason, because some guys will get held out, do you think he'll go outside maybe some games or even some some drives or something like that, and then also get in the slot, or are they keeping him, I don't know, more slot centric as of right now?
I mean, it seems like he's kind of been doing both, not with the first team, but he's kind of been doing both in practice. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of did that in preseason action too, because you kind of want to have him like have that familiarity. But he's played outside a ton in college. That's basically where the only place he played. So, and maybe in game action, they kind of want to see him more in the slot. So he'll be getting reps there. But that's what I'll be watching for, because I feel like if they really are serious about him being the starting slot cornerback, I feel like you have to give him those reps in preseason against like real competition, see how he can tackle in space, because that's a big thing in the slot as well. And so seeing him there, I feel like you're going to want to see him in the slot, but I definitely think he'll get some reps on the outside as well.
Can't wait for it. We're literally, what is it, 1 week? Yeah, Friday. 1 week. 1 week from today, first preseason action, 4 straight practices, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I think a day off at a walkthrough and then game, I believe. So Ravens right around the corner.
PFN already made sure they're like, oh, you can write on, what is it, Friday night, the game for the Eagles? They were like, oh, because usually Fridays are my night off. And they're like, can you write on Friday? And I was like, yeah, why not? And they're like, no, because the Eagles play Friday. I was like, everything's a blur right now. I feel like I can't figure out what day is what. But I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely, I'll be on. So like, I'll have a recap or whatever on that too. So
let's go.
Yeah, real football is finally here. Well, as close to real football as we'll get before the regular season.
Basically, yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Looking forward to it. John, I did see the segue there. Not bad. He was saying that, as far as talking about Eagles, he was saying, they fly like birds. So there was some sort of connection there. I don't know. We got off somewhat, but I can understand it, and we appreciate you guys. But like Anthony said, football is basically as close as we can until the regular season is back. Make sure to follow Anthony at DiBona PFN. Got a link in the description for people that are watching. Check out his articles, his content, everything else. And stay tuned, like I said, because there will be kind of a special, unique potential giveaway in the near-ish future that we have planned. So stay tuned for that. But as always, appreciate you hopping on, Anthony. Glad that the kiddos got to sleep and everything's good there. Hopefully that stays the same.
I'm glad that they went to sleep and that they stayed asleep. So that's the best part.
That's what I'm about to go do. So wish me luck.
Good luck.
But appreciate everybody else. Y'all have a great night. Go Birds.